Good morning and good afternoon, Your Excellencies, organizers, and those joining us on YouTube, also the various speakers in today's workshop. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to speak at today's webinar. So I lead UNDP's Resilience Program in South Korea and co-lead the Inclusive Green Economy Program of UNDP in 20 countries. So my presentation today, as discussed with the organizers, is focusing on UNDP's support to countries on NDC implementation in the forestry sector. So to start, the Paris Agreement, as we know, sent a clear message that the forests play a critical role in achieving the global climate goal, SDG 13, and dedicated Article 5 of the agreement to forest, in which parties are encouraged to take results-based payments, actions that foster REDD+ strategies, and also alternative policy approaches such as joint mitigation adaptation approaches for integral and sustainable forest management at the same time, reaffirming the importance of incentivizing non-carbon benefits. Also, the Paris Agreement establishes guidelines for carrying out and communicating the ambitious efforts defined in the nationally determined contributions, NDCs, and the characteristics of the progression. So each country's successive NDCs will represent a progression beyond the country's current NDC and reflect its highest possible ambition, reflecting its common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in light of different national circumstances. So with that preamble, let's move to the next slide. So the resilient forest, so deforestation and forest degradation undermine the livelihoods of some 1.6 billion people, threaten biodiversity and critical ecosystem services, and aggravate climate change. So the previous speaker also spoke about these reforestation issues and challenges. Let me say a little bit about globally what UNDP is doing on reforestation and sustainable forest management issues. So UNDP Global Environment Facility supports 69 countries through 89 projects in safeguarding forest biodiversity and ecosystem, with financing of over almost $450 million US dollars. And also the JEF Small Grant Program has supported about 20,000 community-based projects, an estimated 35% of which are related to the protection, rehabilitation, and sustainable use of forest ecosystems around the world. UNDP also manages a $400 million portfolio of national REDD+ projects, working through a diverse network of institutions and partners, including with FAO, UN Environment. The UN REDD program in 5 countries, serving as a delivery partner for the World Bank's Forest Carbon Partnership Facility in 7 countries, supports bilateral investment programs for REDD+ in 5 countries, manages the community-based REDD+ initiative in 6 countries, and hosts the secretariat of the Central African Forest Initiative. CAFI is a financial platform with 5 donors, and actually South Korea is a donor of CAFI, and it's in 6 countries in the Central African region. And UNDP also supports pioneer countries with leveraging REDD+ investments and finance, including through the Green Climate Fund, to help advance the global forest policy agenda. UNDP also hosts the Secretariat of the New York Declaration on Forest. So our overall work in forest supports indigenous peoples and local communities to participate in global policymaking processes within the UNFCCC mechanism on climate change, also Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD mechanism, and the UN CCD process, which is the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, and highlights their contribution to forest protection. And as you may have heard from our director, UNDP is also working on forest offer of support on COVID-19. So we have partners and specialists working in all over the world on forestry-related projects. Let's go to the next slide. And in terms of UNDP, climate and forests, and what do we do? We are delivering technical assistance, policy advisor, and quality assurance to support national and subnational REDD+ readiness, implementation, and financial mechanisms. So quality assurance support to country offices during implementation of REDD+ projects, also policy advisory services, and technical assistance to national counterparts upon requests from country offices, and also strategic advice to countries in structuring REDD+ results and receiving results-based payments. So in terms of the three phases of REDD+ on readiness, we have been supporting 34 countries advance their national REDD+ strategies or action plans. 36 countries with their approaches to meet UNFCCC safeguard requirements, and 35 subnational jurisdictions across 8 countries developed REDD+ strategies or forest transformation plan. On the implementation part, 9 countries with costed REDD+ investment or implementation plans. Also, we supported Ecuador to receive $42 million from the Green Climate Fund for the implementation of its national REDD+ action plan. And also we supported the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, to operationalize its national REDD+ fund and access $150 million through the CAFI mechanism, Central African Forest Initiative, that I just mentioned. And and let me here also mention that the World Forestry Congress is taking place. So the CAFI Secretariat is based in Geneva and hosted by UNDP. And the next World Forestry Congress, as we know, is taking place in Korea in 2021. And so we are working with in the consultative group for the World Forestry Congress from UNDP Seoul Policy Center. We are representing UNDP on this. But as I was saying, we have colleagues in different regional centers, global policy centers that are forest experts and practitioners. And so my presentation has benefited from their inputs. And in June, our technical workshop, I had given a longer presentation on these issues. So let me then move on to the next slide, please. So integrating and enhancing REDD+ in the NDC, REDD+ represents the land use change and forestry LULUCF component of the NDC in many countries. And national REDD+ readiness countries have already been working for years in a very participatory manner on LULUCF. Let me spell out the acronyms. NFMS, which is a National Forest Monitoring System, which should be flexible and allows for improvement and building upon existing systems. And also the FREL approach, which is a forest reference emission levels, is a benchmark for emissions exclusively from deforestation and forest degradation. So in this integration work, a REDD+ strategy development, we are looking at robust analysis and consensus on the drivers of deforestation and forest degradation, and also ambitious national vision and related sectoral and cross-sectoral targets that may be integrated into the NDCs as unconditional targets and or conditional to external financial support. And also in terms of social environmental safeguards to ensure that not only do no harm, but also maximization of non-carbon social and environmental benefits, so contribution to SDGs. So let's move to the next slide. So again, on a significant implementation challenge in terms of integrating, enhancing REDD+ in the NDCs is that within national government, teams are working on NDCs and REDD+, often in different ministries, and even if they are in one ministry, maybe different sections of the same ministry. So connections is not always happening. Along with this coordination challenge, there is also the timing issue. because most countries in terms of National REDD+ strategy or NRS can be different from other REDD+ readiness elements or working on NDC enhancement. So now is the time to make these connections and to improve the existing ones. Because there are diverse benefits for countries able to integrate or enhance REDD+ in the NDCs that include benefits include increase the robustness and credibility of their NDC, maximize opportunities and international financial support through clear targets and activities backed up by very participatory processes with clear social and environmental safeguards. Let's go to the next slide, please. So this slide is about matching NDC needs on the ground with global support. In 2019, UNDP conducted a major survey of countries on their plans for 2020 with respect to revising NDCs and current NDC implementation status and critical bottlenecks and success factors. The UNDP survey was organized around 7 core building blocks of the NDC architecture, and more than 130 countries responded, making it the largest survey of its kind to date. So you can see the link to the survey from UNCCC website. And so the survey produced a list of objectives for revising the NDCs, including creating stronger links with SDGs, as well as alignment with development and sectoral plans and targets. So this was the second most important reasons for planned revisions to NDC cited by 88 governments. Only strengthening of underlying data and evidence ranked higher from 92 countries. And 67 nations intend to incorporate consideration about gender equality and women's empowerment into their revised plans, recognizing the vital roles that women can play in combating the impacts of climate change. And we know that, and also that in terms of helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or the mitigation aspects, also tighter links with development goals can also reinforce action to eliminate poverty and hunger, SDG 1, that is. So this information, bottlenecks, and success factors have served as the launching pad for UNDP's climate promise, which takes me to my next slide. So next slide is the UNDP Climate Promise. The objective is to support 100 countries enhance the national determined contributions by 2020 with demonstrated increase in ambition. So UNDP will support countries to undertake an inclusive and transparent process to revise and submit enhanced nationally determined contribution by 2020 and provide technical and financial support across a tailored set of services to address bottlenecks and scale up success factors. So this NDC enhancement actually captures the idea of NDC progression, which is already inherent in the Paris Agreement, starting with the invitation to communicate new or updated NDCs in 2020. So there is a guidance which is considering the different dimensions of NDC enhancement, mitigation, noting that mitigation enhancement can increase ambition and or facilitate enhanced implementation. Then there is also adaptation and communication, taking into account that objectives and requirements under the Paris Agreement vary across those components. So ideally, NDC enhancement process will bring in bring this in more closely to alignment with the goals of Paris Agreement and maximize benefits of NDCs for development and resilience, incorporating relevant opportunities to strengthen implementation and improve transparency. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so as you can see in this slide, as of April 2020, UNDP has received formal requests from 110 governments for support on NDC enhancement under the Climate Promise. And in this list of countries, requests from Africa, we have 35 requests. Most formal request comes from the African continent, also considering different levels of development. 36 least developed countries, 27 small island developing states, which are also very climate vulnerable countries, and 13 high emitter of greenhouse gas emissions that have submitted requests. So this 2020 round of NDC enhancement would effectively kickstart the Paris Agreement's mechanism for enhancing NDC ambition. Also, this 2020 process for enhancing NDCs offers an opportunity to examine the ambition of initial NDCs in light of progress that has been made. Also, all country announcement of NDC ambition are being determined in the NDC tracker, which is based on Climate Watch data. So you can actually, this NDC tracker is available online. That's a good tool to review as well. So in terms of menu of services for NDC enhancement, that includes 5 specific sectors. So you can actually, I think the presentation will be shared, so I won't read out the 5 services, but let me just read the first one. Build political will and societal ownership at national and subnational levels. So buy-in from powerful ministries and those such as those that are usually in charge of planning and finance should be viewed as fundamental in this process. Some countries have also found peer-to-peer exchange can help raise the interest of Ministry of Finance, for example. In an exchange between Honduras and Dominican Republic, organized by the NDC Partnership Support Unit, Honduras gained greater appreciation of the financial opportunities related to NDC implementation from the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Development of the Dominican Republic. So within this peer-to-peer exchange, there is heightened interest within Honduras. So this example, of course, is related to the NDC implementation process, but lessons may be applicable to engagement of various ministries during the NDC enhancement process as well. And again, reviewing, aligning, and updating existing targets is very important, along with incorporating new sectors and our GHGs, assessing costs and investment opportunities, and monitoring progress and strengthening transparency. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. So in terms of opportunities to strengthen policies and measures in REDD+, there are some examples where REDD+ strategies and investment plans are already well reflected in their nationally determined contributions. And a corresponding level of detail is contained within the NDC or REDD+. For example, in Ghana, the NDC, the National REDD+ strategy was developed same year as the NDC submission in 2015 and is well reflected in the NDC. And also, however, many national REDD+ strategies finalized after their INDC, so intended national determined contributions were submitted, which kind of INDCs that went before the national NDCs were agreed on. So specifically, and/or a quantification of role of forest is currently not reflected in those NDCs. Cambodia refers to this in their first NDC. The actions for LULUCF are presented as a conditional contribution. A precise list of actions and the greenhouse gas impacts will be uploaded after the finalization of the REDD+ strategy. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So enhancing NDC to forest mitigation, there are a number of entry points, including reviewing, aligning, and updating existing targets and policies and measures, monitoring progress and strengthening transparency, and incorporating new sectors and or GHGs, greenhouse gases. So I will not be reading through this one because I just realized we're short of time. And then climate promise, in terms of forest and land use activities, we see that 53 of the 110 countries are requesting LULUCF related support in their climate promise activities. And from the African continent, we see activity requests are 28% coming from Africa, and Ethiopia is one of those countries. Okay, so this is also available online. So let's go to the next slide, please. So in this slide, I wanted to highlight country-specific examples, specific forest-related activities in Climate Promise Work Plan. Let me just talk about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe supports the realignment of the forest policy with the revised NDC in supporting the finalization of national forest definition based on subsector consultations. So subsector consultations took place in commercial timber, conservation, working with local authorities and academia, and procurement of 6 increment BORs for forest carbon quantification to determine country-specific wood density, and also training on collect art modules for forest resource monitoring, and ODK for greenhouse gas inventories. And then we have examples of Cambodia and Paraguay, but let me not talk, you have this information there. Let me now go to this publication pathway for increasing nature-based solution in NDCs. It's a 7-step approach for enhancing NDCs through nature-based solutions. And this provides a framework for governments to identify potential nature-based solutions with the aim of enhancing their climate mitigation and adaptation action in a cost-effective manner with multiple co-benefits. And so provides a concise summary of specific actions to consider, and is organized in 7 steps. You can see the cover page here. And this report is accessible online with this title. And so the step 1 is on establishing an understanding of the national greenhouse gas as an accounting context. And this step aims at creating a comprehensive understanding of the current context of greenhouse gas emissions by sources as well as removal by sinks as essential exercise for countries' NDCs. Second step identifies and reviews existing nature-based action in national legal and institutional framework. This step implies identification of nature-based steps that are already solutions that are already taken place as part of the country's plans, policies. So the idea behind compiling existing nature-based solution action is not only to make evident to policymakers, but also to showcase the potential low-hanging fruits available to countries to enhance their NDCs. Step 3 is on identifying and reviewing nature-based solution actions in the current NDCs, and includes a review of current nature-based actions present in the current NDC or enhanced NDC proposal. In the step 4, it's a rapid analysis of estimating the climate change and mitigation or adaptation potential of the existing actions. And so to quantify various paths that countries can follow. Step 5 is a crosswalk nature-based solution pathway with existing measurable nature-based actions, and also identifies opportunities to enhance NDC using spatial data. The 6th step, integrated measurable nature-based actions into the NDCs. So that includes quantifiable indicators, which is very important to track progress to achieve the NDC goals. And step 7 on improving or creating the enabling conditions to support implementation of nature-based action integrated into the NDCs. So this step entails identification, main enabling conditions needed to support the nature-based solution. So if you're interested, please, you can download this document. I also wanted to share some tools and resources for enhancing NDCs. This can be downloaded as well. I wanted to mention that in my longer presentation in June, I talked about the importance of aligning the nationally determined contribution with and the sustainable development goals and the country's ongoing national development planning. So NDCs and SDGs, they are not happening in isolations, and it's not an immediate quick process. And so it's important to start where linkages are easiest, and it takes a all of government approach and opportunity to recognize the links between climate change and development, as well as promoting action on both agendas in an integrative way to effectively meet agreements. So that the longer part of the presentation is available in the website. think that the organizers have already uploaded the longer technical presentation. Let me just finish by saying that, last year in March in Accra, there was the first Africa Climate Week, which provided a critical opportunity to build momentum for raising the level of ambition on the part of African countries to achieve the goals of Paris Agreement and to limit climate change. More recently, also actually later last year, the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration was declared 2021 to 2030. And also the national, this weekend I spoke with Korea Forest Service partners about the Bond Challenge, which is a global effort to bring 150 million hectares of degraded and deforested lands into restoration by 2030. And also it goes up to 2020 and 2030 is 350 million. So these are really ambitious efforts, and the target year is starting this year for Bond Challenge, and there are a lot of regional efforts undergoing. And as we heard, Ethiopia is taking a lot of ambitious steps. So to address drivers of deforestation and degradation, it's always very necessary to develop solutions that integrate forests with the development of viable socioeconomic livelihoods. So I think with that message, I would like to end, and I from UNDP Soil Policy Center and from UNDP, you can see the name of our nature and climate and environment team and climate forest team of overall UNDP as acknowledgement here. We have been very proud to be part of this project. So I'll end here. Thank you.